Now we're going to move on to the invertebrate section. Helen.
Hello, so I'm Helen Owens. I know most of you, but there's a few new faces. I've been working with the biological databases for 20 years, but I've enjoyed it all, so that's good. So firstly, I'm just going to give you a bit of an update on where we're at with invertebrates in the biological databases. We had several people requesting it over the last few years. So in 2015, we had a new component added to BWSA that can accommodate invertebrates now. Before we did that, we wanted to check what as we normally do, check what already is around in the state, so we don't duplicate any systems. But after talking to people like EPA and the museum, we realised there was a bit of a void that we could fill for like terrestrial invertebrates and projects related to stuff that EPA aren't necessarily interested in. And also it allows junior staff to keep all their biological data in one spot. So if you've got a project that's got a bit of veg data, a bit of fish data, and you want the aquatic invertebrates as well, you can keep it all together in the one system. So there certainly seemed a need to allow data to go into BWSA for invertebrates. That doesn't mean if you've got a system that meets your needs better that it can't go in there, as long as you follow that data flow plan and the third-party data management structure that we'll talk about a bit later. Just making sure your data's accessible and in the right system that suits it best. Taxonomy for the invertebrates is probably the biggest challenge. With the other vertebrate groups, we've basically added all the taxonomy required for that group of reptiles, birds, mammals, fish into BWSA, so it's there for you to grab as needed. With invertebrates, there's like billions of them. There's 100 classes alone, so we've had to deal with it a bit differently, and we're going to add invertebrates on a as needs basis. This mouse, is this a mouse? No? That's a pointer. Oh, yep, so I'll use the pad. So I'll just, whilst talking about invertebrates, I'll just open up a few of the tools that are actually applicable for all the other taxonomic groups as well. So if you don't know about those tools, you'll get a bit of a look at them. But I'll just be focusing on how we're dealing with invertebrates in those. So Matt's just going to try and take us to the taxonomic web list, taxonomic list that we keep on the web.
Any ideas?
I can live without it. Because everybody's already seen our websites and read them all thoroughly anyway, because it was a prerequisite. Yeah, no, that's fine. So if you go to one of the websites Matt showed you before about information and data, there's a taxonomic, BWSA taxonomic list. It's just an Excel spreadsheet with all the vertebrates and all the plants as well. Not vertebrates, all the fauna. I have to start saying fauna now because we're accommodating invertebrates. And you can, from there, you can get the taxonomy you need to fill out the templates and get your data into the corporate systems. Okay, we obviously need to have a uniform taxonomic reference, so that's a good spot to go. You can just go back to my presentation. Yeah, so that's a good spot to go. And at the bottom of it, because invertebrates are dealt with a bit differently, I've put the invertebrates in red at the bottom, and we're not sort of trying to keep up to date with every class and every level of higher order taxonomy for the invertebrates. They're just all lumped together as class invertebrates, even though officially that's not a class. And you'll see it's quite obvious, and then you'll be able to find your yabby or your crustacean or your mound spring spider or whatever it is you need. Okay, so you can go there and get them. There's only about 100 tax to put in there so far. I've got about 350 in the backlog, which I've been working on in the last week or two, if anyone's waiting on that. I know there's a couple in the room that would like to see their data go in. So there's a bit of a backlog on the taxonomy, but we're processing that, and we're trying to develop some processes that will make invertebrate taxonomy speed up a bit. Now vouchers, as with all the other biological data, we promote the collection of vouchers where necessary. So it's always good to think about whether your project requires some confirmed identifications from the herbarium or the museum. and with invertebrates, that can be like the Australian Water Quality Centre or wherever you're getting your IDs done. So it's good to be thinking about vouchers. Some people have been a bit unsure where to put invertebrate vouchers, but we've been talking to the museum and they're quite happy for like looking after your specimens and not necessarily all your samples, but voucher collections you need to confirm the presence of the species in your area for your project. So keep that in mind. Don't just think there's no one wants to accommodate all my vertebrate collection. You know, like if you've got key things that validate what you've collected in your project, they really should be lodged in a state institution for longevity rather than in a box in your back shed like I know I've got a few. You know, in piles of vials stuck away in some dusty shed they're never going to be able to be referred to. All right, data entry forms. Oh, dare I click? There's all the fun bits. So Matt mentioned how we've got 2 templates that help feed data into BDBSA. The simple one, and show of hands, who's used the simple template? Yep, so a few people are familiar with it. It's just an Excel spreadsheet with about 15, 16 key fields, the minimum data set fields. So you all used Excel. It's just an Excel template set up in our format that makes a load into BDBSA easy. We've just added to that the option for a species type of invertebrate, I for invertebrate. In the past, we've just had the fish, birds, mammals, plants, reptiles. Yep, so that's got the invertebrate component added to it. It's also got the, in the methods, like obviously when we add a new group, there might be some new methods that are relevant to invertebrates that haven't been used before. And there might be some specific fields that are relevant that you need. So methods can be just added upon request. So if you've got any new fields you need for that sort of data, let us know. And so new fields take a bit longer. Adding new methods to the lookup list is simple, so don't hesitate to ask. And access to the invertebrate data is through normal BDBSA avenues. So that's the beauty of getting your data into BDBSA. Then all the access options are just automated. So if you put some invertebrate data in tomorrow, it'll be in the super table for everyone to be able to see next week. There's obviously, like the same with third-party data, so there's some valuable invertebrate data that's sitting in third-party institutions. So as with other valuable data that's in third-party, we're looking at bringing that, like organising access to that and bring it back into the Juno environment so that can be available through like Aegis and spatial layers, so you can merge it with other super table internal data to use for your purposes. So it's just a matter of raising that with us if there's external data that you want to get access to in the invertebrate area. And just one more slide on invertebrates. Just to show you the current state of play. So there's about 1,000 records in BDBSA at the moment, coming from 8 different projects. Some of them have data in the other taxa groups as well. So this is just showing the invertebrates. We've got stuff like up at Witchera, we've got some Mound Spring data with their snails. We've got the BRUV data, the underwater video program from Marine Group down here on Pearson Island with crayfish, I think it is. And like yabbies over in the Murray River from the Murray Wetlands project recently. And this is pygmy blue tongue down here, I think, with some wolf spiders. And down on KI, lobster, I think that one was.
Oh, there's a props as well as the biological survey stuff from water.
Yep. So we're starting to get quite a range, quite an array of invertebrate stuff that you might not think falls in that area anyway, but good stuff. So there's a backlog of invertebrate projects that we're working through, and some of them are waiting on taxonomy and some are waiting on being reformatted and need funding and that. So there's about 15 projects in the backlog that hopefully get fed in over the next few months. And then there's another 30 or so that have come in from scientific permit returns over the last several years. Just been stockpiling invertebrate stuff, but we'll feed them in. Funding helps, and remember now that you can all capture your own invertebrate data and bring it in. So, all right. Any quick questions on invertebrates before we move in?
Not necessarily invertebrates, but I'm just wondering, with so much more data likely to go in, is there any thoughts about splitting the SD layers up a bit more, because it's really taking a long time to...
At this stage, we're leaving the invertebrate data in, but certainly when we we'll talk about the third-party data later. The third-party data, we're certainly looking at that being a different layer. So be in super table format, but you'll turn it on as I'm giving away the good bits now. You'll turn it on as a third-party layer. Felicity and I have certainly discussed, and Matt,
We're open to these things.
Yeah,
We recognise
yeah.
that the data sets are pretty big and
Yeah.
unwieldy, but it's kind of a toss between keeping them all together so everyone can look at them together
Well,
as
it's
opposed to
great
keeping
to
them
have
apart.
one layer
Yeah.
together, but then split it up, so you've got the choice.
Yeah, that's right. So custom layers
Hey,
are custom layers are on the agenda. It's a matter of raising one that you think would be useful, because that's the problem. Everyone
Yeah.
has a different
once
thought
you
of what would be
open
useful.
it up, everybody wants something slightly different.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but it's certainly
it's a
possible.
good discussion.
If your business need requires a certain layer, let us know.
Open to it.
Okay, I'm Felicity Smith. I haven't been working on BDBSA as long as Helen. So I'm just going to give you an overview of absence. So this is a new functionality we've added to BDBSA. Up to now, BDBSA has pretty much been about presence. So this is a bit of an exciting change. It's a very simple change we've done. We've essentially just changed the way we record data in the number observed field. So number observed up to now was not mandatory. Now it's mandatory. Everyone has to put stuff in, so it's 100% clear of whether something's there or not. And from an absence perspective, if you've gone out and searched for a species and haven't been able to find that species, then how you record that in BDBSA is as number observed equals none detected. So to cover off on any confusion about what people are recording, we've removed the ability for people to add 0 or leave that field blank, or 0 in its other form, and also blanks. So unfortunately I can't link off, but so number observed is in the species bit of the forms, the tables that you load the data in, and we also have a flag in the project metadata which enables your specific project to be able to record absence. So if that flag isn't on, you actually can't record absence. So once you register your project, or you've started, you've already got a project, but you've decided you needed to collect absence data, you can actually go into the project registration and update that record to say, I want to collect absence data as well, or you can just in your original project registration say, I'm collecting absence. And I was going to flick off, but I'm not going to anymore. So we'll have the links available for people. Should I? Should I try it? All right. Yep. All right. Whoops. Huh? How do I do that? Yeah. Ah, there it is. All right. What's the password? All right, so this is our project registration form. So, scrolly. Whoops, that was too quick. So there's a whole lot of questions in here. You fill in your project name, project description, methodology, and then this number 5 is species absence. So you tick whether you have absence data as part of this project, and that'll flag with us that we flag it in the metadata, that it'll be absence, and then the data can go in, all nice and easily. So that's pretty much all I want to show you with that. So up until now, like the database has been about presence. So by changing the number observed field, it's meant that the data that has presence has also expanded. So in the past, you pretty much had, it was a number field. Now it's a text field. So you can still put numbers in, but you can also put ranges, like, 1 to 100 or greater than 100 or greater than 10,000 if you're seeing all those birds out on the horizon. Or you can put something more generic representing quantity like a few, many, that kind of thing. And then if you don't actually count anything, the default is present but not counted. So you have to use one of these options. It can't be blank. So I suppose up until now, all people could do was a number, and we've made it more flexible and expanded it because I suppose in the past, like some people might have actually done a range, but into the number observed field, they've had to put a number. So they might have picked the lower end of the number or the higher end of the number. And say, for the example of the quantity field, say the frog census, that pretty much says, is there one, few, many, lots? And we might have actually, for some records, we might have translated that to a number because that kind of represents range. So now you're actually getting more, it's more precise to what was actually collected in the field. And then you as the user can make the judgment as to how you interpret that rather than us making interpretations for you. And then within the templates, which I won't link off to because they're Excel spreadsheets, there's, columns in the appropriate bit of the spreadsheet which are about the number observed, and we've just got a bit of a tips in, one of the fields or a sort of a comment off saying how you actually need to record the data in there, like it can't be blank, has to be none detected or present not counted or these types of options. So how you get access to it. So at this stage we have 2 layers in our Aegis spatial database. One is the fauna absence unfiltered and the other is the flora absence unfiltered. And these are essentially where number observed equals none detected. That's what you get in these layers. And those records are excluded from our standard fauna super tables. So you can only get the absence in these layers. We also have a fact sheet, which is on our website, just summarising what I've told you, pretty much. So this is what we've got to date. So although BDBSA has pretty much had presence data in it, there have been some records that have gone in that are absence, which we have now officially converted over to be none detected. And maybe there's a few more records that have come in recently as well. So to date, we've got 4 projects. So the pink are the flora projects. Pink, yes. And there's about 490 records, and they cover off on things like date palms, orchids, threatened species projects. And the fauna projects, there's 9 of them, 431 records, and they're things like pygmy blue tongues, trying to find them, down spider burrows, hooded plover surveys, fairy tern surveys, that kind of thing. Spotted quails, trying to find them. So it's a bit of a summary of, should we keep going or we take a break? So that's a summary of the absence stuff. Any questions on that? Yeah.
So describe the method used in great detail in that data. Because, it'd be very sensitive if you didn't find it, depending on the method used to try to find it.
So the methods are still the same as our current methods for presence, but I don't think we've added any new methods, but yeah, like we were saying before, new methods can be added to more explicitly describe how it wasn't found.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you can have your methods in the methodology, which for an absence sort of project, you would be wanting to describe that quite well, how you can prove it's an absence. And also in that collection method, you could also pick a collection method like spotlighting, none found.
So now I'm going to talk about image viewing. So this is a bit of what we've got now and what we're looking towards in the future. So this is, some of it's a bit, yeah, it's an evolution, and I suppose we're interested in people's interest in it and engagement as well. So currently within the BDBSA image situation, we have a database called SABIRS, which is an MS Access database, and that stores the metadata about images. So images can cover off on photo points. We go out and take a photo of a site, or it can be critters that you see in the field, or particular things of interest within your sort of biological surveying activities. And we also, so this database is currently pretty much only for viewing. So we're currently in the process of doing some updates to it, so we can do changes to it and add new data to it, but that's still a bit of a work in progress. So in the interim, we have our little bottom drawer, as Matt was talking about. So we've got a corporate photo location where images can go in there and they can be stored there, and we know they're there for when we actually can add them to the system. And what else about that? So within that folder location, that's structured around the projects. So if you do have, photo points that you're collecting, you need to register those photo points. And also the actual locations of photo points can actually be added to BDBSA through our through our detailed template. And there's a field in there that says, is this site a photo point? And we also have a metadata template that actually gets people to all the images are, and some metadata about those images, so it's transparent when it was taken, where it was, all that kind of stuff. And I won't show you an example of that. So that corporate folder location will work. So on the other side of things, what we've been developing in terms of viewing images that say we have in our SABIRS Access database is in the Envirodata SA application. We have a viewer that we've created called the image catalogue, and so you can go into the image catalogue, and this is, the original intention was that this would be a public out-facing service, and it would be, so the images that are in there are actually ones that are should be publicly available. So there's not all our images in there because some are sensitive, or some are, they've been taken on public land, or they've been taken by people who don't want the images to be made available, because essentially everything that's available here will be downloadable and be made freely available. So yeah, there's a search criteria, and so if you put in some search criteria, I think on this side I put in the search criteria of my name as a photographer, and these are the pictures that came up of photos that I'd taken while I was out in the field, i.e. some photo points and some general photos of a site. And I won't try and do a demo of that. So the other side of image viewing that we're looking at, or we're in the process of working through, is, as I said before, like within BDBSA, you can actually add the sites that you've been doing photo points at, and from that we've created a layer that is all the sites that are photo points, which is what you see on here, wherever my mouse is, here. So this is all the photo points that have been recorded in BDBSA. This is in ENV maps, so the layer is called biological photo points sites, and there's, if you are more of an ArcGIS person, the layer is called biodiversity.photopoints. So then, yeah, you can click on a site like this and it'll bring up details about that site, like when the photo was taken, where it is, who took it, and coming is the intention that we'll have a link from this layer over to the Envirodata layer, and you'll actually be able to see the photo point like this once that link's added. So So yeah, there's some things that there and some things still to come. I just wanted to, and that's it. Any questions about that, or we can just take a break?